As I bring you this telecast tonight, I received in my WhatsApp inbox a few minutes before now desperate SOS pleas from one of the chief executives of one of India's largest hospital chains. They're saying that by 10 p.m. tonight, 2 hours from now, not just their hospital, but they've gone on to name a few more key hospitals will be out of oxygen. And this is the way it's been for about 72 hours, where hospital chains have literally been hand to mouth, desperately working the phone lines, trying to ensure that the oxygen supplies reach them on time before calamity breaks out in their hospitals. Here is our lead story tonight.
No space for them inside. A roofless, open-air yard turned into a makeshift hospital. Patients lying on stretchers, some hooked to drips. A heart-wrenching scene outside Delhi's GTB hospital, the largest state-run COVID facility in the national capital.
There is no medical attention provided to them. Even they are complaining that the oxygen is in short supply and most of them are serious, still not getting any oxygen support for them.
The insidious virus has overwhelmed hospitals across the country. There are not enough beds, there isn't enough oxygen for the influx of patients. Not just overcrowded government facilities, several private hospitals too issued S.O.S alerts when oxygen stocks became critically low. Replenishments trickled in after the distress calls. Haunting wails coming out of Lucknow. No oxygen for stricken patients. A hospital buckled under pressure, urging sufferers to go elsewhere. Authorities, however, downplay the ongoing crisis.
उल्टा भेज दिया कई हॉस्पिटल हम सुबह से हॉस्पिटल में चक्कर काट रहे हैं भर्ती कोई नहीं कर रहे
Panting in an auto rickshaw.
भर्ती कोई नहीं कर रहे
Desperate pleas for oxygen at a medical facility in Meerut.
ये तुम्हारे भाई है ना यहाँ पे? अभी क्या हुआ था यहाँ पे?
In Punjab, this hospital in Moga is also battling oxygen shortfalls. Authorities in Jharkhand say they have adequate stocks. But oxygen suppliers insist they are bursting out at seams to meet the rising demands. Maharashtra confronted yet another tragedy in 2 days. On Friday, a fire claimed lives of at least 13 COVID patients at a hospital in Virar. This after 22 patients died at Nashik when they lost their oxygen supplies because of a leak. With the highest caseload, the state continues to walk the razor's edge.
ऑक्सीजन की कमी ज़रूर है। प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने भी एक चीज़ पे बहुत जोर दिया है कि वेस्टेज न हो, लीकेजेस न हो। जो बचत कर सकते हैं वो करना चाहिए। लीकेजेस अगर रोक सकते हैं, लीकेज रोकना चाहिए। इस तरह से मुझे लगता है हमने एक स्ट्रैटेजी बनाने की ज़रूरत है। सर,
The central government is scrambling to shore up supplies by rail, road and air. A momentous challenge to deliver them to every grasping patient before more lives are lost for want of air. Bureau Report, India Today.
To get a sense of where the problem lies, to understand what is being done, and to assess how long it will be before demand starts meeting supply, I'm joined on this broadcast. I want to welcome first Mr. Naveen Jindal, Chairperson of Jindal Steel and Power Limited. He's working through his plans to try and ensure that oxygen supply is sent to different parts of our country. He'll explain what he's doing. We have Dr. Devleena Chakrabarti. She's the Managing Director of the Artemis Hospital in Gurugram. Put out fervent pleas for help earlier this evening. She'll talk about how things are now at our hospital and what's going wrong. Dr. D.S. Rana joins us. He's the Chairman and of the Board of Management of Sir Gangaram Hospital. We have, for a perspective from the Delhi government, Raghav Chadda, and from the BJP, Raman Malik. He's from Haryana because Haryana is being accused of blocking oxygen supplies coming into the national capital. First to Naveen Jindal. Mr. Jindal, can you explain how industry is coming together to try and provide oxygen? Because all we hear right now are cries of help, but a lot is being done to try and alleviate those cries. Can you give us a sense of how much oxygen have you personally, through your companies and industry, been able to secure supply of, and how are you sending it to areas which need it the most?
Rahul, so this is a very serious situation for the entire country. And I must say the entire steel industry, all the people who produce oxygen are making all-out efforts to ensure that we are able to send maximum oxygen. Today in the afternoon, around 1 o'clock, there was a meeting that all the steel producers and oxygen producers had with the Honorable Prime Minister. And everybody assured, so everybody, whether it's Steel Authority of India, whether it is JSPL, whether it is JSW, whether it is Tata Steel, ArcelorMittal, so all the companies are going out of the way to produce more and more liquid oxygen. You know, because when we are not in the business of supplying oxygen, we are in the business of making steel. But in the process of making steel, we do use a lot of oxygen, but most of it, 95%, is in gaseous form. So we do not have really need for liquid oxygen. In fact, we also buy a lot of liquid oxygen. So what we have done at JSPL, whatever we used to buy, around 150 tons every day, so that from wherever we used to buy with all the tankers, around 15 tankers, that we are sending out to, Vedanta will get oxygen from us tomorrow. Vedanta will get, Gangaram Hospital will get, Artemis will get. So all we are in touch with all these people. Then we're supplying to Madhya Pradesh, we're supplying to Telangana. Steel Ministry is coordinating efforts of all the steel producers. So they are sending railway rakes also, where you can roll on. Because we have oxygen, say we have around 500 tons of oxygen in our Angul steel plant in Odisha, but we do not have enough tankers. So one tanker maximum can take 16 tons, 20 tons. This is the average sizes. So we are making all-out effort to do it. And I'm sure, I'm quite confident in next 2-3 days, situation should ease out. So everybody is at it. All the chief ministers, all the time, phones are ringing constantly. Whether it's Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Delhi chief minister, they all speak. So I think everybody is making sincere efforts, but this challenge is at a scale which we have never experienced before. So I think in a couple of days, we will find our bearing, we'll find how to do it best, and I'm sure we'll start seeing results.
All right, thanks Mr. Jindal for joining us with your thoughts at the top of the show. I want to go across to Dr. Devleena Chakrabarti from Artemis Hospital and get her sense of the problems her hospital is facing at this time. What is the oxygen supply situation? There were some very dire SOSs for help. Why do you think this problem is not getting resolved in the way that you'd like it to?
So thank you, Rahul, for having me on the show. And you would have seen my tweet, and that was in the morning. Basically, the problem is we are living day to day. So we are getting supply for one day, and then that lasts us till the next day. So if the tanker does not come one night, which happened last night, that's how all hell broke loose. And as we speak, we have, I tweeted in the morning, and in the last half an hour, I have got 1 ton from the administration, and I'm thankful for that. But in the interim, we were managing with cylinders because our liquid oxygen was getting hugely depleted, which is through the central supply. So we were creating parallel supply through the cylinders along with the liquid oxygen to keep the oxygen level steady. So this 1 ton that we have gotten is going to see us through till 2 a.m. and then we are expecting another 1.5, 2 tons to come from our regular oxygen supplier. And meanwhile, we have liaison with another company in Kashipur, and this is a corporate which has come forward and is supplying us with oxygen. But again, like Mr. Jindal mentioned, the logistic is an issue. So we had to really get the tanker and everything organized for the oxygen, which hopefully will reach us tomorrow morning. So it's like, we are looking at one step at a time, next few hours, then what, and so on. Now, the pertinent question is, why did it happen? And this was something which was not foreseen by any one of us. When I say any one of us, it's all of us in it together, politicians, bureaucrats, doctors, because the second wave, the infectivity is so high, and also the virulence is high. People are desaturating very fast. So, like from a level of 85, they are going down to 70 in no time. So the requirement is more. It's 5 times more than what we had seen before. So having said that, what we are actually doing it at a hospital level, we have an oxygen audit meet every day morning to see how we are managing oxygen. So instead of keeping people at a 92, 93 level of SpO2, today we are maintaining at 88, and we are ensuring that there is no leakage happening through the masks that they are wearing. We are attaching a reservoir so that whatever goes out, they are able to breathe that again. And we are checking our supply lines to make sure there are no leakages and so on and so forth. So if you ask me really, the reason is this, because there's a huge demand. And like Mr. Jindal said, a lot of people have come forward, industry has come forward. I know for a fact there's a lot of oxygen in Chhattisgarh where people, after seeing my tweet, said, why don't you come and have a hospital here? So, but the problem is the transport. So I'm a doctor. I don't want to sensationalize or politicize anything, but I'm just saying that who are the best guys who handle surface logistics? In my mind, as an Indian citizen, it comes as the Indian Army, which is borderless, which is seamless, which is, doesn't stick to one state. And they have been moving things all over the country within hours, north to south, east to west, So somewhere, our army, which has always helped us in times of dire needs, can probably be taken into consideration for surface transports, And I'm an optimist, and I'm a firm believer that in the next 6-7 days, we'll get over it. Yeah, get over this problem.
Dr. D.S. Rana, Gangaram Hospital was in the news where some 24 sickest patients, you said, died last night. What is your situation of oxygen supply now? How bad has it been? What are your teams telling you about how nervous it's been for them to try and deal with this constant, do we have oxygen, do we not have oxygen, are people going to run out of oxygen, what are we going to do? How strenuous has this been for you, Dr. Rana?
We were the first to raise this issue 4 days back when we faced acute shortage of oxygen. And at that time, we raised this issue to our MLA, Mr. Rahul, who is there in the audience. And he also worked very hard, and the other people are working hard. Since then, they are assuring small amount of oxygen to us on hourly basis, lasting for a few hours. And right now also our situation is like that we are having oxygen which will not last more than 1.5 hours, even if we economize it now. So we have approached the Delhi government officers, and they are ensuring that the supply will come. The good news is that at least Delhi government has assured us that from midnight today, we will be getting at least approximately our requirement of 9,000 cubic meter of oxygen every day, while our requirement is nearly now 11,000 actually. And as far as deaths are concerned, in the morning there were little misinterpreted. Deaths didn't occur because of lack of oxygen. We were maintaining oxygen supply, though there was no doubt that at night also we were maintaining and we were fighting for oxygen, and Rahul Chadha will bear with me that he was also awake and I was also awake till about 1 o'clock when we ensured supply, but there was a very small supply. About 1 ton for such a large hospital which has got 515 patients being treated at main hospital, and now we are facing the crisis in another hospital, City Hospital, Gangaram City Hospital is treating almost 95 of COVID patients, and there also there is no oxygen now. There is hardly any oxygen for half an hour or so, and we are crying, and I only hope that we are able to get this oxygen, and if we are not able to get oxygen, then in another 1 hour we will face a very serious crisis actually. But fortunately we are quite hopeful that
so you're saying
they have been addressing our issue for last 4 days.
At this time, you have oxygen supply which can last you only for an hour, and it's been like this for 4 days. Raghav Chadha, the Delhi government was earlier complaining that Haryana and Uttar Pradesh are not allowing oxygen to come in. Then the central government intervened, ensured that there must be no stoppages. Is that being maintained? Do you see the situation get better from tonight, or are we still very, very delicately poised?
Right. So, Rahul, first of all, I must thank Dr. Rana for being so kind and generous and saying such nice things about me. I was just doing my duty, and he's somebody that all of us have grown up looking up to, and his service to mankind is invaluable, and we salute Dr. Rana and his institution's contribution in this fight against COVID. Now, having said that, look, there is an unprecedented increase in the demand of oxygen across the country. Everyone knows that. The problem initially was of supply. When Delhi demanded 700 metric tons of oxygen, we were given only 378 metric tons of oxygen. So there was a huge supply gap. Then we petitioned the union government, we requested them, we begged before them, and finally our quota was increased from 378 to 480 metric ton. Now, out of this 480 metric ton, about 125 metric ton, Rahul, has not reached Delhi, and it will take a substantial amount of time to reach Delhi, merely because it is going to come from faraway places in West Bengal and Odisha. Some of them are 1600, 1700, 1800 kilometers away. I can name the places: Durgapur, Rourkela, Kalinga Nagar, etc. So therefore, this is already a gap that we are trying to fill, and we haven't managed to yet. We are hopeful that the logistical arrangements will be made soon, and the additional 120 odd metric tons that have been assigned will reach us. Now, out of the 378 metric ton that was previously allocated to us, we have now started receiving a substantial chunk of it. There have been certain, I can say, the issues that we were facing seems to be subsiding. All of them have not yet subsided. I'm being absolutely crystal clear and honest with you as somebody who's involved in this process, who's neck deep into monitoring this movement of trucks, etc. I can tell you that until this very afternoon, 4 p.m., we got 172 metric ton out of 480 that was promised. But by come midnight, I'm very sure we will get about 100, 150, close to 200 more metric ton, and every hospital will be supplied oxygen. But I gave you a complete breakdown of where things stand simply to explain to you that everybody today is hand to mouth as far as oxygen is concerned. We are trying our level best despite supply chain issues, and that is precisely what the Honorable Chief Minister Rahul today highlighted before the Prime Minister, that if Prime Minister and his office intervenes, these supply chain issues can be resolved. These supply chain issues at this point in time and the logistical issues seem to be the biggest issue, and I'll explain to you in 30 seconds what these issues largely are. First of all, states in which oxygen demand is high and they have 1 or 2 plants where oxygen is being manufactured physically send their officers and police to capture that particular plant and not let that plant give oxygen to any other state. Forget Delhi. I mean, for example, I'll give you an example of Rajasthan, which is a Congress-run state and not a BJP-run state. In Rajasthan, the government of Rajasthan physically captured one particular plant of Inox, got entire oxygen for its state, and it's only then that they released the trucks from the premises of the oxygen production facility. Now, what happens is that once you withhold that oxygen, the entire supply chain gets completely disrupted. So Rajasthan supply chain gets disrupted. They are unable to supply to Haryana. Haryana in turn is unable to supply to UP. UP in turn is unable to supply to Delhi. And there is a complete crisis and a mayhem. And that is why we are hand to mouth. Therefore, Honorable Prime Minister's intervention is deeply required in this matter. If he picks up the phone and calls up each Chief Minister, irrespective of the political color that they wear, I'm very sure a solution can be arrived at. Now, of course, while we thank the Union government for increasing our quota from 378 metric ton to 480 metric ton.
I'll come back to you. Raman Malik. Now, the charge against the BJP government seemed to be that officers from governments in Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, etc., are being sent to these oxygen manufacturing plants, and you're getting oxygen supplies diverted to your own state without looking at the larger national picture, so as to ensure that those states that don't manufacture oxygen also have equitable access to it.
First of all, Rahul, I think what Raghav said just now was mainly about Rajasthan doing so, not Haryana. When I talk about Haryana, we must not forget that we are at the receiving end, though we have a plant at Panipat and Faridabad and other places, but we are at the receiving end, and I'll tell you how. One side, when a truck from Panipat is going to Faridabad, it is looted in the national capital by the state government employees and taken to their places. Secondly, the Rajasthan government at Bhiwadi stops a truck, and yesterday it was a big fight. Few people from my organization went over, and there was a huge ruckus at the Bhiwadi border, and we got the truck released, and then it came to Fortis. Now, this is what I'm trying to tell you, that please do not just keep blaming onto us. That is number one. Number two, we are trying our level best and everything is happening. But those states, let's say places like Uttar Pradesh, when there was a problem, Yogi ji ordered for 10 plants. Some are under, some have started production, some are under development, and they would be done. So my point here is, can the administrations of those people who are either to blame the BJP CMs or the PM, but not question themselves, can they not at least do this much? That fine, whatever has happened has happened. At least now they, or instead of doing ads and other thing, they can now order small mini plants. The government of India is already picking up 23 mini plants from Germany. We are doing airlift, we are doing trains. The government of India is not shirking back. But the whole point is, in this dire situation, can the CMs not be innovative rather than only putting a complaint and sorry face and telecasting? These are not times. And Rahul, let me forward you another thing. The meeting which happened on the 11th and 14th, and further to give an entire detail of how much requirement is going to be there on the metric ton basis, Delhi government had given, which is a signed document, where the Delhi administration very clearly under the government of Delhi, Mr. Kejriwal, had given certain numbers. Yes, I understand there is a spike. I do not defy it. And this is not in control of any government. But rather than cutting a sorry figure, complaining, doing petty politics, is it important to today forget politics and start working towards saving human life? I am sorry, but so, the only thing that is happening is petty politics.
Speaks this morning when the Delhi Chief Minister put out as a live video his comments to the Prime Minister during the PM-CM's meet, where the Prime Minister was meeting Chief Ministers of the most affected states. The Prime Minister was furious, saying that this is a breach of privilege, this is not the way it's supposed to be done, and the Delhi Chief Minister was accused of being sneaky by violating protocols. Here's the report.
Sunli, may I? Rahul, may I? Rahul?
Can we just play out that report, please?
Rahul, may I just respond to that, please?
मेरा विश्वास है देश में अगर कोरोना के खिलाफ एक नेशनल प्लान होगा तो हम सभी राज्य सरकारें और केंद्र सरकार मिलके इस दिशा में काम करेंगे। सर, कोरोना की वजह से दिवंगत आत्माओं को शांति मिले। हाँ जी सर।
ये हमारी जो परंपरा है, हमारे जो प्रोटोकॉल है, उसके बहुत खिलाफ हो रहा है कि कोई मुख्यमंत्री ऐसी इन हाउस मीटिंग को लाइव टेलीकास्ट करें। ये उचित नहीं है, ये हमने हमेशा संयम पालन करना चाहिए।
ठीक है सर, इसका ध्यान रखेंगे आगे से। सर मैं सभी आत्माओं को शांति मिले जिन जिन लोगों का इस दौरान कोरोना की वजह से जिनका देहांत हो गया, और उनके परिवारों को दुख सहने की शक्ति दे। अगर सर मेरी तरफ से कोई गुस्ताखी हुई है, मैंने कुछ कठोर बोल दिया, मेरे आचरण में कोई गलती है, तो उसके लिए मैं माफ़ी चाहता हूँ। लेकिन अभी तक जितने आज पॉल साहब की जो प्रेजेंटेशन थी वो भी बहुत अच्छी थी, और उसके हिसाब से जो भी हमें निर्देश दिए गए हैं उन निर्देशों का हम पालन करेंगे।
Now, Raghav Chadha, is this even the right thing to do? You're part of a privileged committee where you're having a conversation with the Prime Minister. It's supposed to be a, like a brainstorming of sorts, and you go out and you leak your part. Now that seems to be a very, very sneaky thing the Chief Minister did.
Look, Rahul, first of all, there was absolutely no written or oral direction or instruction, either implicit or explicit, of any sort, asking no participant to share what has transpired in the meeting. That's one. Number two, in fact, it's the Prime Minister himself who, after in all such meetings that he holds with the Chief Ministers, when he gives his address to the Chief Ministers, he shares the live footage of that address to the Chief Minister with every channel. In fact, I usually log on to your channel to watch the Prime Minister's address to all the Chief Ministers. He's done it every time in the past. In fact, he did it a few days ago. So therefore, I think as far as the privilege is concerned, that question is answered. The point is that in a spirit of transparency, the Honorable Chief Minister of Delhi shared what he spoke to the Prime Minister, shared his plight with the Prime Minister, and shared that plight with the people of Delhi as well. I think if you were to look at his entire 3.5-minute clip, his entire 3.5-minute submissions before the Honorable Prime Minister, you will find not an iota of politics. It was facts and requesting him to come to the rescue of people of Delhi and let us get oxygen, number one. Number two, let me finish. Number two, if you see, there was no national secret that was being discussed in this meeting. What was being discussed was a national calamity. And every citizen has the right to know what chief ministers, what prime ministers, etc. are doing for their own people. Prime Minister himself, in the spirit of transparency and certainly not as sneaky politics, shares the video footage of all his chief ministerial addresses, as his address as Prime Minister to all the chief ministers every time after the chief ministers meeting. So I think Mr. Kejriwal has done exactly what Prime Minister has done time and again. However, if there is a written direction or an oral direction that something like this should not be done, it will not be done in future. And if any inconvenience has been caused, we deeply regret it, because we fundamentally believe, Rahul, that this is not the time to play politics. What is important is not that his clip regarding
Rahul,
oxygen supply going viral. The point is the oxygen
Rahul,
supply itself. We should be discussing oxygen supply and not how. Just hold on. Just hold your horses. I did not intervene when you were speaking. Just wait for your turn. It is, the problem is not the Chief Minister's address to the Prime Minister coming in public domain. What is important is the oxygen supply issue itself, and we should be discussing that. As far as privilege is concerned, Rahul, you know this, I know this. There was no such privilege. This is not a parliamentary committee. This is not a legislative committee. This is, in fact, I will go to the extent of saying that Supreme Court, High Court hearings have also become public. That is also for the world to see. So I don't think, what is this issue? What is the objection?
So I'll tell you what the issue is, Raghav Chadha. I will tell you. A person who cannot fulfill his commitment.
No, 1 second, Raman Malik, you will speak when you are spoken to. Raman Malik, calm down.
No,
Raman Malik, calm down. 1 second. You cannot jump in and disturb the other participant. There's nothing for you to tolerate. I'm asking you a question, you will answer my question. That's how we'll do it. Okay, so here's my question. Once you've heard my question, you're free to
Somebody cannot
respond.
start off lying.
Point number one. This is about transparency. Why, if the Prime Minister can put out his video, why can't Mr. Kejriwal? Point number two, there was no written or oral instruction saying don't put out this video. 3, oxygen is more important rather than publicity. Respond now, Mr. Malik.
Rahul, first of all, you must not forget that had it been that the so-called transparency general, Mr. Kejriwal, wanted to give transparency, they could not even appoint an ombudsman into their own party. And then, on top of it, this man is saying there's no written or oral communication. Does he any meeting that he has he been airing all the meetings that he's done till date on a public platform to give transparency? The Prime Minister, whenever the ministers, the Prime Minister, any meeting that happens, yes, the media requires certain visuals and things which are given to them, and the media respects that, and once they have taken those visuals or the primary address of welcoming people, they move out and the other meeting happen, and that has been the protocol ever since. We in media, you in media know it. We in political people who are answering media also know it. You as a media channel know it very well how it operates. Now suddenly you come and give this sermons that, oh, this is for transparency. Then one commitment, Mr. Raghav Chadha, you give today. All meetings related to anything related to COVID, related to anything, the Delhi government is going to air it. Interministerial meeting, they're going to air it. Anything which is relevant, they're going to start airing it. Can you give that commitment? But
Rahul,
you can give commitments on national channels, committing that you may leave, if certain thing does not happen, you will leave politics, but still carry on. So will your commitment stand? I do not know.
Should I respond, Rahul?
Okay. Yes, please go ahead, Raghav Chadha.
Rahul, if the what happened today is being considered as cheap politics, then should we say that when Prime Minister, while addressing Chief Ministers at the conclusion of the Chief Minister's meeting with the Prime Minister, makes his entire speech public, is he indulging in cheap politics? Are we accusing the Prime Minister of breaking protocol? Are we accusing the Prime Minister of breaching the privilege and the sanctity of a meeting like this? First of all, let us understand that what was being discussed in this meeting was not a national secret. It was a national calamity that was being discussed. Let's not get carried away and make these absolutely obnoxious arguments. I would appeal to my friends in the BJP that if you have any issues with it, if you have felt that any discomfort with the Chief Minister's video coming out, I express regret. That is fine. However, if a video in which very transparently the Chief Minister has explained the situation of Delhi comes out without playing an iota of politics, what is the issue? It's in the spirit of transparency. And in fact, Rahul, I ask you, you have been covering politics for a very long time. You have seen Mr. Kejriwal's 3.5-minute address. Did you see even an iota of politics in it? What you saw is that an elected Chief Minister is requesting to his own Prime Minister for certain assistance qua his state regarding his own citizens who are gasping for breath in Delhi. I think it should be taken in that spirit. In fact, in last time around also, when this COVID outbreak happened, Rahul, so the Honorable Chief Minister of Delhi walked shoulder to shoulder with the Home Minister, with the Prime Minister to find a solution. We have 100 ideological issues with the BJP,
I'm running out of town. I'm running out of town. I think there's only there's a very quick opportunity for Raman Malik to make a counter and then I end. Raman.
Rahul, let me remind Mr. Raghav Chadha that after the so-called word-famous Mohalla healthcare system failed, the Home Minister came in, the central forces came in, made that hospital in Chhatarpur, made another hospital this time around in Dwarka. Now, I want to ask this much, that preempting, seeing, whatever, you always come up and say this, that, oh, the certain BJP Chief Minister is not working well wherever there's a Chief Minister of BJP. Wherever there's not a Chief Minister of BJP, you blame it on the central government. How is it that you just throw away the onus of working? One. And this last thing, have you till today, this time and point, have you ordered for any micro plant, mini plant, anything to fulfill the need, additional need of oxygen? Have you done anything to do about it?
So I'm out of time on the Newstrack tonight.
10 seconds.
We will keep at this. And okay, 10 seconds, Raghav. Just 10 and no more.
Literally 10 seconds. You see, as far as oxygen is concerned, I'm not playing politics. All I'm saying is that it is the responsibility of the Union of India to bring oxygen in the right quantities at the doorstep of every state. It is for the state government to distribute it among its hospitals. This is not something that I've said. This is what the Delhi High Court said, that it is the onus is on the Union government. DDMA Act is enforced, allocation of oxygen is done by the Union. We will reach out to the
So I'm out of time. You're on board the Newstrack. We've been highlighting all the problems being faced by hospitals, being faced by doctors, being faced by patients, their relatives in this battle against COVID. I want to take a moment to salute our doctor heroes who've really put their lives on hold, battling day and night. I know of people who've been up all through the night, several nights running, to try and ensure that their patients have the maximum chance of survival against this dreaded virus. To all these doctors, medical staff, nursing attendants, we say, we salute you. Thank you.
Undeniable gloom due to coronavirus pandemic in the country. Amid this avalanche of bad news, there are some brave hearts who are at the forefront of COVID fight. Meet Pragya Ghade. She is a doctor by profession. Pragya works at a COVID center in Nagpur but was back home for a short vacation in Balaghat, Madhya Pradesh. Sudden spurt in Maharashtra's COVID cases pricked Pragya's conscience. Transportation to Maharashtra was hardly available, but that did not stop Pragya. She decided to drive 180 kilometers to Nagpur. That's right, a long, arduous drive in the face of supreme duty to COVID patients.
मैं पहले भी कोरोना महामारी में काम कर रही थी, पर लॉकडाउन के कारण मैं घर चली गई थी और कोरोना के बहुत सारे केसेस बढ़ने लगे थे, तो मुझे हॉस्पिटल से कॉल्स आ रहे थे बहुत सारे, और उस टाइम मेरे पास साधन भी नहीं था, तो मैं स्कूटी से नागपुर आई। मैं 9 बजे बालाघाट से निकली, तो मैं 3 बजे वहाँ पहुँची। मेरा उद्देश्य था कि मेरी पढ़ाई मेरे जीवन में काम आए।
Pragya's patients are worried but equally proud.
लॉकडाउन के दौरान उन्होंने मुझसे चर्चा किया कि मैं नागपुर जॉब करने जा रही हूँ। मैंने उन्हें रोका क्योंकि मैंने बोला बेटा लॉकडाउन है, जाने की समस्या है, लेकिन वो स्वयं तैयार हुई। अपना बैग स्कूटी में स्वयं पीठ पर लाद करके स्कूटी से 9:30 बजे यहाँ से निकली और नागपुर वो 3:30 बजे पहुँची। नागपुर पहुँचकर उन्होंने तुरंत ही हॉस्पिटल ज्वाइन किया और आज वो कोविड सेंटर में मरीजों की सेवा कर रही है। मुझे उस पर गर्व है।
If Pragya is a real life idol, then these doctors and health workers from Surat are equally our heroes. These hospital staffers celebrated birthday of a COVID patient in Surat.
Happy birthday to Hinabim. Happy birthday to you.
The depression of pandemic has not allowed our COVID warriors to lose hope. Their actions is a timely reminder that not all is lost. Bureau Report, India Today.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kanwal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.